So the other day I went to see this movie called Religulous, which is basically a documentary narrative style in which you follow around Bill Maher and his adventures of questioning religious people with questions that they are too dumb to understand, and him poking holes in their beliefs, or at least trying to. And this video is my Christian, because that's what I am, reaction to the movie. For context, why don't you watch a trailer for Religulous right now? There are plenty of them on YouTube. Pause it right now and click like right here-ish and watch it, and then the trailer is good enough, and then you can watch my rebuttal, which is this video that you're currently watching. So continue watching this after the trailer, please. Before I walked into the theater, I imagined myself agreeing with this movie some of the time and disagreeing with this movie a little more of the time, and that is essentially what happened, and now I will tell you why. I also like to say that you really have to see the movie to truly experience it, so anything I say in this video I don't think will ruin it. My initial and overall criticism of the movie is that it takes its stance from a predominantly philosophical perspective. It rarely draws on facts, and when it does, it tends to get them wrong. Bill Maher has built himself up, probably, in preparation for the movie, to be a layman expert on the issues he was discussing. So when he talks to people, they're not equipped to answer the kinds of questions that he asks. And that doesn't mean there are not answers to those questions. It just seems that he's going around owning religion because he's talking to a bunch of people that are ill-equipped to respond to him in a meaningful way. It really makes me wonder if anything was cut out of the movie that could have been absolutely enlightening on the religious side. And, it was nixed for entertainment value of these people who are relatively dumb. And, on the issue of editing, I was watching for this because in Michael Moore's documentary, Bowling for Columbine, there's a lot of tricky little edits where they'll cut away to some stock footage of something that references what whoever is on screen is talking about. And then when they do that, they'll mash up audio and make it seem like someone's saying something entirely worse than what they've actually said. And this, now while I can't say for certain, obviously, this could have occurred in this movie to a large degree because there were random cutaways, many of which for comedic effect, to various footage from other sources. So it is possible that these people were edited to sound a little dumber than they were. And secondly, I would like to address some specific points that were made in the movie which were either not appropriately dealt with by the laymen that he was interviewing, or there's more to it than there was in the movie. Bill Maher said early on that he views religion as an easy answer to a tough question. Now, of course, his position is that he doesn't know, and I assume he's an atheist, but he's like an agnostic atheist. So his position is he doesn't know. So my response to that would be, religion at least is an attempt to answer to the question, where you can sit back and say, I don't know, and contemplate all these possibilities, but just because you err on the side of this is probably the answer, or this is at least what I believe in the answer, that doesn't mean you can't intellectually consider the other options, or the option that there is no option, with, just as much intellectual fortitude as the guy who's trying to be, objective in his I don't know, therefore I don't come to a conclusion answer. There was a notable clip where George Bush clearly states that his religious beliefs inform his foreign policy. Like, literally, that's what he says. It's probably a famous clip, and he showed it completely unedited, so, it was pretty genuine. And as a Christian, I must confirm that that is scary, especially in a country where, it was founded upon freedom of religion, and especially when you're dealing with other countries who are not necessarily Christian nations as well. It doesn't really work out, and George W. Bush sucks. Bill Maher also makes this point to some laymen. He says that how do you justify the parts of your belief that aren't in the Bible And he brought up a few examples like the Trinity. No, that's definitely not in the Bible, at least not explicitly. As a Christian, I must say Bill Maher actually is correct on this front. And to other Christians, I would simply say that this should not bother you. I mean, it's just the way that it went down. Like, people inserted other stuff into the belief, and those people were called Catholics, and they suck. Back in the day, they did. These days, if you're a Catholic, you're just you plugged into that superstructure thing. So you don't actually suck. You just believe things that were made by guys that suck. Bill points out the Gospels don't match up with each other, as in the details, they don't all coincide 100% of the time, but I would simply say that this is because the Gospels were based on oral traditions for at least 2 or 3 or more decades, and then they were written down, and the copies we have may not be the first copies, but there's a few differences because of that, but they were written down soon enough to where the claims made in the Gospels are not completely removed from the events that they refer to. Bill mentions rather offhandedly that there is no historical proof for Jesus, and where were the fact checker dudes on that one? Because that is a minority opinion among scholars. I won't even try to prove it. I will just state that it is a minority opinion among scholars, an extreme minority opinion among scholars, including secular atheist scholars. Most scholars believe that Jesus was a historical person. Okay, and there are sources outside of the Bible that point to Jesus' existence or point very, very close to his existence. Something particularly dishonest he did in the editing, or the editor did in the editing, was that Bill Maher was talking about Bible morals, and then they just cut without introduction to footage of the Westboro Baptist Church and their various protests. And they do not even explain that this is Westboro Baptist Church. They are the most radical church in the nation. It consists of around 100 some odd members, and nobody else on the frickin' planet is as radical as they are. So it's pretty much just retarded in that front. And this is not what most or some or even a sizable minority believe. It's a very minute, small number of people in a central, single location, and they do need to die. Bill Maher cites the story of Jonah and the whale, which actually, he points out, is actually a big fish, according to the Bible. Big semantical difference there. And he says that these kinds of stories are indistinguishable from fairy tales such as Jack and the Beanstalk, blah, blah, blah. List goes on. And, I've always found that peculiar because I didn't find the purpose of these stories in the Bible, especially like that old stuff, to interpret them literally. It just really it depends on the book, honestly, because Psalms, that's a bunch of poems. The Gospels, that's trying to account the events of Jesus' life. Revelations, that is a prophecy from John the Baptist that he had. So, it really just depends on what the book is going for, So you have to judge that on an individual basis. But whether the story of Jonah and the whale is factual or not is just totally not the point. There is a moral that you can learn from that story. Bill Maher also correctly points out that this nation was not founded a Christian nation. They feature various quotes by founding fathers that were against Christianity, or they were deist or whatever, and this is true, and Christians should just in general accept this and move on. Freedom of religion. You want to be a Christian? Go nuts. I don't see the point in claiming this is a Christian country unless you insist on pushing your beliefs on others, but that's a problem, and you should stop doing that because you make us look bad. Bill talks to a priest that points out that the Bible does not have any science in it, and it basically boils down to the fact that the scientific movement comes hundreds of years later. It was simply not attempting to explain the world in the kind of context that people were hundreds of years later, and my response to that is so. Let's let religion deal with metaphysics, and let's let science deal with physical facts. The priest agrees, I agree, religion somehow survives. Alright, so I gotta love with you guys. This video is kind of like the Terminator movie series, and this was the first one, and like it was kind of cool, but like not that relevant or really that good, nor did it have much character development or anything of any social value, honestly. So, but the good news is there's a sequel, and it's probably up right now, and you should probably watch it right now, where I continue with my rebuttal and reaction to this movie in a much better, more exciting way with guys made of liquid metal in the video as well. Very exciting.